When most people think of Emperor Nero, they picture fire, Rome in flames, the emperor on a balcony, strumming a lyre while the city burned. But if you had asked Rome's senators and nobles what really scarred them about Nero, many wouldn't mention fire at all. They would mention his singing. Because the most powerful man in the world didn't just dabble in the arts. He forced the entire empire to sit through endless concerts, where leaving early could cost you your fortune, your career, or even your life. Nero, the artist Nero, ruled from 54 to 68 AD. He inherited the throne young, and he inherited a capital already tense with corruption, court intrigue, and paranoia. But unlike other emperors, Nero didn't care much for administration or war. His true passion was performance. He wanted to be known not as a conqueror or a ruler, but as an artist, a poet, an actor, and especially a singer. The problem? In Rome, elite men were never supposed to perform in public. Acting, singing, and stage work were seen as humiliating professions for slaves and entertainers, not emperors. But Nero didn't care. To him, applause mattered more than dignity. The concerts from Hell Nero's solution was simple. If he wanted an audience, he would have one. He ordered senators, generals, foreign ambassadors, and aristocrats to attend his recitals. And when they arrived, the doors were locked. The performances dragged on for hours. Nero would recite poems, sing tragic songs, and play his lyre, demanding the kind of rapturous attention usually reserved for gods. The audience, meanwhile, suffered in silence. No one dared yawn, cough, or show boredom. To do so was to risk being reported for disrespect, a dangerous charge under an emperor known for paranoia. The horror stories ancient writers loved to preserve the absurd details of Nero's concerts. Some people pretended to faint, hoping they'd be carried out of the hall and spared the torture. Others snuck out as if going to the bathroom, only to slip away entirely. One historian claimed that women gave birth during Nero's performances, but were too afraid to leave until the emperor finished his song. And through it all, Nero sang. Hour after hour, aria after aria, convinced that he was the greatest artist Rome had ever known. Vanity as power for Nero, the concerts weren't just vanity projects, they were political theater. By forcing Rome's most powerful elites to sit and applaud, he humiliated them. He reminded them that their titles and fortunes meant nothing compared to his voice. To clap for Nero wasn't just about music. It was about submission. And clap they did, senators, generals, and aristocrats all reduced to terrified fanboys of a man who believed himself divinely gifted. Closing of Section 1. So by the middle of Nero's reign, Rome's political elite had learned a strange new form of torture. It wasn't exile, it wasn't execution, it was being trapped for hours while the emperor howled through song after song. The doors barred, escape impossible. It was humiliating, exhausting, and absurd. But it was also dangerous, because in Rome, even bad singing could be deadly. In Section 2, we'll see just how far Nero took his obsession, from humiliating senators at home to humiliating Rome abroad, and how his artistry became one of the strangest reasons an emperor lost the respect of his empire. Because Nero may not have fiddled while Rome burned, but he definitely sang until patience turned to ash. By the middle of his reign, Emperor Nero had turned Rome into his personal stage. The city's most powerful men dreaded his invitations, because an invitation wasn't really a choice. You attended, you sat, you clapped, and you didn't leave until the emperor was satisfied. But the concerts were only the beginning. Nero's singing obsession would grow so extravagant that it didn't just humiliate Rome's elite, it humiliated Rome itself. Escape attempts, ancient historians delighted in recording the absurd ways people tried to escape Nero's recitals. Senators faked sudden illnesses, hoping to be carried out on stretchers. Some slaves were bribed to pretend their masters had emergencies elsewhere. A few desperate souls actually jumped from windows or scaled walls to get away. But the emperor was paranoid. Guards patrolled the halls, doors were barred, and leaving was almost impossible. The safest option was to sit quietly, pray for mercy, and hoped Nero's voice finally gave out before yours did. Nero goes public, but Nero wasn't satisfied humiliating senators in private halls. He wanted the world to see him as a true performer. So he began appearing in public theaters, singing, acting, and competing like a professional entertainer. For Rome's elite, this was shocking. Emperors were supposed to be dignified statesmen, not stage performers. By lowering himself to the level of actors and musicians, Nero dragged the dignity of the empire down with him. But Nero didn't see it that way. To him, the roar of applause meant legitimacy. The Greek tour in 66 AD, Nero took his obsession abroad. He traveled to Greece, where performance competitions were taken seriously, and entered every contest he could. And, unsurprisingly, he always won. Who would dare declare the emperor anything less than victorious? But his victories weren't just hollow. They were humiliating for Rome. Here was the emperor of the most powerful empire on earth, prancing across Greek stages like a common entertainer. Romans at home saw it as a disgrace. His vanity wasn't just embarrassing anymore. It was political poison. Hatred at home, while Nero sang abroad, resentment grew at home. The senators he forced to endure his concerts despised him. Generals mocked him behind closed doors. The people, already suffering under taxes and shortages, lost faith in their emperor. By the time rebellions broke out in the provinces, few were willing to defend him. When the Senate finally declared him a public enemy, many Romans thought back not just to his cruelty or extravagance, but to his endless need to perform. Legacy of a performer. Nero's reign ended in 68 AD with his suicide, abandoned and hunted. But in the centuries that followed, what stuck wasn't his wars or policies. It was his vanity. He became the emperor who fiddled while Rome burned, the tyrant who cared more about applause than duty, the man who forced senators to suffer his singing until they prayed for death. Closing of Section 2, so here's the tally. A Roman emperor who fancied himself a pop star. Senators and ambassadors locked in halls, unable to leave. Absurd escape attempts, fainting, bribery, even childbirth mid-performance. And a legacy forever stained by the image of a ruler who would rather sing than govern. Nero may not have been the first bad musician in history, but he might have been the only one who made the entire Roman elite his captive audience. And in the end, the sound of his voice didn't just torment senators. It helped destroy the respect of an empire.